welcome to Cooking with Sam. Today he's got something very special prepared for you. First though, we're gonna cut to Bill Steward for something very interesting.
Hello and welcome. We're cooking 3 dishes today for my part, and I'll apologise if the sound's a little off, but I'm filming this in Scotland, and frankly, everything sounds a little off in Scotland. So you'll see before you my massive ingredients, pre-prepared like a professional. I have an onion and 2 cloves of garlic, up nicely finely chopped. I have a few sprigs of rocket, some feta cheese, although this comes down to your personal opinion, but that's the topping I'm going for. Some prosciutto and chorizo. Again, that comes down to you, but I always think prosciutto makes a pizza just that little bit better. I have some feta cheese, might have already said that, can't remember. Mozzarella, some sweet potatoes cut into a chip sort of shape, 2 tins of chopped tomatoes, some yeast in warm water, sugar, oregano, a little mix of paprika, cayenne and cinnamon, cocoa powder 40 grams, white chocolate 100 grams, golden castor 185 grams, milk chocolate 185 grams. I'm remembering this all. Fuck yeah. 3 eggs, 85 grams of plain flour, some Greek yogurt, some olive oil, 200 grams of strong flour, and a little bit of salt. I think that's everything. I could be wrong. Oh yes, you also need copious amounts of red wine, or gin, vodka, whatever you prefer. So now we're ready to get started. I don't have a catchy line to follow that with. So, first thing we're going to do is a sweet potato fries, which you start by drinking. And then, you take your sweet potatoes. So, what you want to do is heat up some oil, pour in some of your selection of cinnamon, cayenne and paprika, add a little bit of sugar, and then coat your sweet potato fries in them. Pop them in the oven for about half an hour or so, or 20 minutes, just depends on how much you're actually doing really, until they're nice and soft, and enjoy. So you want to start with your pizza dough. Simply combine strong flour, Greek yogurt, your yeast, a little dash of oregano, a bit of olive oil, and your salt. I haven't told you how much salt, just a nice little sprinkle. Into a bowl and mix it up thoroughly. Once it's reached a kind of nice kind of ball, you want to slap it down on a board and start to knead, really kind of into it. Just keep rolling it into your hand and keep mixing it up until it reaches that sort of silky smooth consistency. And if you happen to have anger issues, and not to name any names, but Hamish Mullen, then you're welcome to punch it and slap it around and really just go crazy. Now that you've reached your sort of silky feeling, you want to roll it out and just kind of keep rolling it, flipping it over, rolling it until you have that round shape. Now that you have your pizza base kind of rolled out and ready to go, you want to put it on what you want to cook it on. Now, I plan to use a heated pizza stone. For that gives you a nice kind of crispier base and it makes me look fancy. But you're welcome to use a metal tray. That works nice and well enough. From there, you want to start on your pizza sauce, which is actually, for me, I just use a pasta sauce, which works perfectly well. It gives it a much kind of thicker sauce, but for my style of pizza, it works for me. So what you want to do is saute your onions and garlic and a little bit of butter, add your tomatoes and a dash of sugar, just to cancel out the bitterness of the tomatoes. Give it a little mix once in a while, but you don't really need to worry. You just need to leave it to cook until you can kind of stir it and there's no liquid left at the bottom. Once it's reached that stage, take it off the heat and leave it. So now with my tomato sauce cooking in the background and my dough rising, what you want to do is start on your heart-cloggingly delicious brownies, which you start off by melting your 185 grams of chocolate and butter into one gloopy mix. Now you can either do this the traditional way, and by traditional I of course mean anyone who's made Rice Krispie chocolatey treats, which is on top of a saucepan of water and a bowl, or you can do it in the microwave. Now if you use the microwave, I would recommend you do it for 30 seconds at a time. Keep taking it out, mixing it, and just see how it's doing, because you can really easily burn the chocolate in the microwave and you really don't want to do that. It's bleh. So from there you mix your dry ingredients together, the cocoa powder, the golden caster sugar and the flour. Give them a nice mix, add the eggs, be sure to give them a quick whisk beforehand, and then you're ready to add your chocolate and butter concoction. Give it all a nice mix, and finally cut up your chunks of white chocolate into maybe a quarter of the size of the square they come in. Now you can use any chocolate for the chunks of chocolate, but I personally think white chocolate is the best contrast. Some recipes call for a mix of white chocolate and plain chocolate, but I just go for white chocolate. I think it works the best, but it's up to you, really. Just go with it. But you just want to pour it all into a medium-sized tray. Make sure it's buttered first and cook for, and the correct time is on the screen. And now you want to take your pizza base, which you should have given perhaps half an hour in a warm place to rise, because now that I've actually remembered to tell you to use the yeast in one of these takes, you actually want to give it time to activate. You bring it out and simply pour on your tomato sauce. Now, from here you can really do what you want. You can add vegetables, you can add meat. Frankly, the sky's the limit. Do what you want. The world is your oyster. But don't use oysters. But personally, I'm going to be using a base of prosciutto. Now, prosciutto, I think, makes a perfect base on top of your tomatoes, because the oils come out and it really gives it that nice flavour. From there, I'm adding my mozzarella. On top of that, my chorizo. You want that near the top so it gets nice and crispy. The feta on top of that, and then finally a little sprinkle of oregano and a few sprigs of rocket. Cook that for perhaps 15 minutes until about golden brown, and then it's ready to go. So, with my pizza looking rather good at this point, although I'd actually usually include olives in the roasted red peppers, but I'll go without that tonight because they're expensive and it's 4 in the morning. So, you're welcome to just do what you like with yours. Experiment. Just find the topping you like. Or Google for one. That works too. So thank you for joining me. Scotland is awful, but I hope you enjoy these recipes. Farewell.
That sounded very interesting, I must say. Okay, Sam, what do we need for our recipe?
Well, today we're going to be making pork and Cheshire cheese pasties with leeks and whole grain mustard. We'll be needing pork mince, leeks, double cream, Cheshire cheese, onions, whole grain mustard, and for the pastry, unsalted butter and flour.
Sounds simple enough. Where can we find all these products?
You can find all these at any supermarket. The whole lot came to about £5.
That's very good, especially if you're a student. Okay, what do we need first?
First of all, we need to chop the onions and the leeks. Could you hand me an onion, please?
Yep,
Thank
there you go.
Right, you need to finely dice the onions.
Okay.
Which isn't going to work.
Peel it off.
You need to peel them.
Okay.
And then finely dice. And then once you've done that to 2 onions, could you pass me the leeks?
Oh, leek is next. There you go then.
Thank you. You finely dice the leeks.
Why do you finely dice them?
The smaller you cut them, it gives them better flavour.
There's something for you folks. This smells really nice.
Once they're cut, obviously they'd be a bit smaller than that.
Yeah.
You fry them off with the pork mince.
Fair enough. And what what do you do after that?
Once it's fried off, you leave it to cool
Yep.
for about half an hour. And while you're doing that, we grate some cheese.
Ooh, let's do that then. What kind of a cheese do we need to grate?
Well, this is Cheshire cheese, but you can use any cheese. It's a crumbly white cheese, so it will most likely crumble while I'm grating it. But
That's all right, I suppose. That's the effect we want.
that's fine. Once you've grated all your cheese, you need about 100 grams, then 150 grams of double cream, and about 2 teaspoons of whole grain mustard.
Fair enough. What do we do next?
Well, once the pork's at a cool enough temperature, you add the cheese mix to the pork and leeks.
Yep.
And now we make the pastry.
Ooh, let's do that.
Could you pass me the butter, please?
The butter. There you go.
First of all, we take about 250 grams of unsalted butter.
Yep. What do we do with it?
Could you pass the flour, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Could you open it? Thank you. Then we take about 500 grams of flour. Thank you. Very kind. And then we mix it so it forms breadcrumb consistency.
So it's like a crumble.
It's exactly like a crumble.
Okay.
The perfect recipe for pastry is probably half fat to flour. And once it's done, you gradually add water to bind it so it forms a ball.
And that's our water.
Which should look like that.
Fair enough. What do we do with that?
Then we cover it in cling film. Thank you. Cover it in cling film and put it in the fridge for about 2 hours to firm up.
For about 2 hours.
For about 2 hours.
Okay. What do we do after we take it out of the fridge?
And once your mixture is cold enough and your pastry is firm enough, we roll out the pastry.
Yep. How thin do we need to roll out the pastry?
Oh, as thick as you want it, really.
Fair enough. Depends how much you like it.
Depends how big you want your
Yeah.
pasties, I
Okay.
suppose. Yeah. Then, could you pass me the mince, please?
It's already made minced.
And that's the pork and leek mixture. That's going into the pasty. So we take some of the mince. So it's quite nice.
Looks good.
Could you put that? Oh, thank you. And then we take the egg and egg wash the outside of the pasty.
Why do we do that?
This is just so the pastry doesn't come unstuck in the oven as it cooks,
Fair
because
enough.
the pastry is going to expand.
Uh-huh.
Then we fold them over,
Yep.
like so. And then seal them by just using your finger here
Makes it nicer as well.
to make it nice. And that's your pasty. And then you put it on an oven tray, gas mark 6, 200 degrees, for about 20-25 minutes.
Okay.
And
We already have some made, so let's see how they look.
like all
Ooh,
good cooking shows, there's one I made earlier.
that looks really nice.
Do you
What would you add to it as sides?
I think you could eat them on your own. They'd be really nice, but if you're a student, you'd probably have it with noodles or beans.
Fair enough. Can I try some?
Please help yourself.
This tastes really nice, folks. Well, I guess that's all we have time for today. Thanks very much for joining.